Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? Here we are, another week, another edition of Hidden Tracks. Today I have Mariel from the awesome band Best X, formerly of Candy Heart. Mariel, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. Through some trials and tribulations, we are now recording, so this is great. We are here. We're ready to have some fun. So first things first, congratulations.
Thank you. On what in particular?
Recently engaged, right?
Yes, very true. I was wondering if it was a recent label signing or a recent engagement, because it kind of all happened at the same time, and now I'm planning to drop an album and a wedding.
And my next congratulations was going to be the label signing, but the most important one is love. So congratulations on love.
Thank you so much.
So now that we got that out of the way, let's focus in directly on you. So just signed to a label and you got an album coming. What's going on? How did this all transpire? What led up to it?
So during the pandemic, I released an EP. And it was like
called Good at Feeling Bad for people who...
True, Good at Feeling Bad. It was like the worst time in the world to release an album. There were much more, I'm not saying it as a bad thing, there were much more important issues that the world needed to focus on that were not me at that moment. But I had been working on it for 2 years and I just didn't want to delay it. I was just like, let's put it out. And so we put it out in the middle of the lockdown. Obviously, I couldn't tour or do anything with it. And then the week that we put it out, the Black Lives Matter movement started happening with tons of protests and stuff. So I was like, I can't promote this now. We need to focus on other stuff, you know? So that kind of got lost. And last September, my friend hit me up, who is a record producer, who has like a studio in Jersey, and was like, hey, do you want to do something for like a weekend? Like we could record a song or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I was kind of playing around with writing some stuff during lockdown. So I have something we could do. And so I did that with him. And then I was like, you know, I kind of have more songs. So I hit up someone who lived closer to me, who did my last album, who did Good at Feeling Bad. And I was like, would you want to just like, I don't know, try to work on a couple things and see what happens? And so we started recording. We recorded like maybe 1 or 2 songs. And in the middle of that, the person who runs Iodine Records, who put out Brand New's first album, who had one of those early 2000s demises in the wake of Napster, he decided, I'm restarting the label. I love your music. Do you want to work with me? Do you want me to put something out for you? So I was like, whoa, this is all kind of happening at the same time, where I was starting to think about it. And now I was like thinking, oh, maybe I'll release a single or like, you know, a couple songs. And now I have this person being like, do you want to just do a whole album? And I'm like, absolutely. So I've just been working on that for the last year.
That's awesome. And for those of you who don't know, Iodine Records out of Boston, Massachusetts, I'm actually staring at sticker with the spaceman on and smog behind it directly because I just recently got a package from Iodine. So that's awesome.
I love them.
I love their attention to the music that they're putting out. That's my biggest thing when it comes to labels, is labels caring about what they're putting out instead of just signing people and getting music to put out and trying to make money. I know it's a vicious cycle, but smaller labels, when they care, you can tell with the music that comes out on their label.
And, you know, they care more than just about like what music that they like. They care about the people who are part of their label. Like they want to make sure everyone on their label is like a good vibe. And I went through a series of background checks because, you know, everyone from Boston all knows each other. My label before that was Bridge 9, which for people who don't know, that is like a iconic Boston hardcore label that I had no business being on because my band is the opposite of hardcore. But it was a good vibe. So like they vouched for me. And so like, okay, if they vouch for you, they have enough cred. Like you're probably good.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not that Iodine's got hard stuff on there too. So, I mean, it's just you can tell when you circle down a label's bands that they have on it, and you can listen to basically every band and really enjoy it. You can tell what goes into that, because there's a lot of labels that I like, but I don't love, because I'll go down their stuff. I'm like, what were they thinking here? Is this a friend? Like sometimes that's how it comes off to me. And there's a lot of different things when it comes into labels. So I'm just spouting off at the mouth right now about it.
I totally agree with you. Like, especially those ones where, you know, it's like a cash grab. You're like, this doesn't even make sense to be on here. Like, it just seems like something that was like went viral on the internet once, and they're just trying to see if it'll make them a bunch of money. And it's not something that feels like they believe in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
so I mean, that's awesome. So now you got something in the pipeline to work on, to put out. You're also I don't know if it's still happening with everything that's going on, but you're still playing Fest this year.
Absolutely.
All right, cool.
I can't wait. I haven't booked my flight yet, but I booked the hotel and I can't get my money back. So we're going.
Yeah, the first thing I did was book the hotel, because everything like is crazy. So
that's what I worried about. And I think I booked the wrong hotel, but I also booked it a little bit late. Before the last, I was like, they're doing the announcement that like most of the bands are going to be on. I got to book it the day before they do the announcement.
Yeah.
So I did that. So yeah, we're all ready to go for that one.
Awesome. Yeah, it seems like I've had a huge influx of recent guests on the show that are all festing this year, which is great. It's awesome.
I haven't been back in so many years. We played, I think, 3 times. I think we played 3 years in a row. My bandmates had gone like 5 years in a row. And I think by the fourth year for me, I was like, I need a year off.
It's a lot.
I'm getting too old.
It's a lot. Listen, and if it wasn't for, you know, people know there was a lockdown, there was things going on, but last August is when things started to pop off, and every possible thing that was available for me to go to and attend, I did them all. I did everything. The first one was See Here Now. Then after that, I was at Furnace Fest, and it just trickled. And all of a sudden, like, I got to December and I was like, I'm fucking tired. What am I doing? I'm old. What was that? But it was missing it for almost 2 years. That was like, I got to take it all in and make up for lost times.
I know. My fiance is on that train right now. I don't feel that vibe, because I feel like in the last, you know, for touring for almost 10 years, like I've lived more than everyone else. I've met my quota. But it's going to be interesting because he's coming with me, and I met him during the beginning of like when lockdown first lifted, and then we were quickly back in another lockdown and whatever. And he's seen me play a couple small shows here and there, but he like doesn't know anything really about like my life with Candy Hearts and all of those like large shows that we were playing and the festivals and the press and all of those things. And he knows me as like a blonde girl who like sits in his house and eats acai bowls and like is mulling over like going to yoga, but it's a little bit too lazy, like very basic bitch. And
I'm too lazy to relax.
And yeah, and he's like, you know, a finance bro who's like worked in Silicon Valley and whatever. So I think it's going to be quite a culture shock for him to see like, oh, just so you know, like this is my life relaxing at home, what you've known, but like this is like actually where I've been at.
I kind of want to be there for that first expression on his face when he sees what's going on.
Yeah, I tried to show him some TikToks about DIY punk to like be like, this is exactly what it's like, even if it's a parody, it's like too real. And he like can't even picture it. So I'm so excited for him to see, because he's one of those people who, God bless his soul, when he sees a sign for live music, he just wants to go. And like that is my cue. If a restaurant has a sign for live music, that is my cue to get away, to not go there. And he's like, oh, look, live music, let's go. So he'll love it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, it's just going to open up his eyes to the world that is Fest and all the different bands and genres and stuff that's there. I mean, that's that's a pretty good gauge for a new engagement.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to love it, but I think he's going to be shocked.
Well, we'll meet up, and if we have to, my wife and I will take care of him while you're performing, so he's not too nuts.
Yeah.
So I want to find out a little bit about your life and the role that music's played in your life growing up. Music for me was a huge part through grandparents, parents, older siblings, friends. And I want to find out about what it was like for you growing up. And if you have, like, my thing is always two pivotal moments. The first time you hear music growing up in the house that you kind of clung to, and then when you found your own type of music you liked. Do you remember your first musical memory growing up?
I think so. It's hard for me to pinpoint exactly what like the very first one was. I know I hear stories of my mom saying like, "Oh, you loved Raffi. You loved something called The Elephant Show, which was like a musical children's show." But I do remember very vividly, like we would go to the Jersey Shore every year, and my dad would always play Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys.
My
And
very first memory is Beach Boys. So
yeah,
we're on the right path.
and I loved that. That was like one of the first things I was like, I love this. And then that also they played the Monkees, and I was like, I love this. It's amazing. And Magical Mystery Tour was would always ask my dad to play Magical Mystery Tour. That was like the Beatles album that I loved out of all of them when I was like really little.
That's awesome. And my thing when it comes to when I try to explain like the Beach Boys to people is I think the palette that the Beach Boys gave people, and especially for me, and this is me speaking from my own experience and it's my opinion, I'm an opinionated asshole and I'm allowed to have them, but I think it just opened up so many different types of sounds when it came to music. There were guitars, piano, horns, the harmonies between 5 different singers in the band, and the writings, and I to me, for my life, the Beach Boys are way more important than the Beatles are to me. But I understand where it all stems from.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And you know, when I look at the way that I write music now, um, I would say there's a lot of that sort of Beach Boys influence. And granted, you probably won't hear it if you listen to my album. Like, you definitely won't hear that necessarily. I mean, there's one song that we wrote to be like a throwback of like that kind of era. But the rest of the songs, like you wouldn't necessarily hear it, but the way that I always try to like add horns in and add like all of these stacked vocal harmonies and like violins and like those kinds of things that they use that didn't sound orchestral but actually were, is like a huge part of how I make music now.
And that's all. I mean, to have that memory and then to still be able to pull from it while making, back in it. I mean, I don't know where you would throw yourself today with your music. I know it's a tough question, and I'm trying to get rid of it off of the show. It's the whole genre labeling of where you would fall in and what you would consider your music, because there's so many different subgenres in the world today. So I just basically go, it's either indie rock or alternative rock. Like that's literally where I just categorize stuff.
Me too. I mean, I'm really similar with that. If I had to describe like the album that I just made that's not out yet, I would say it's really feels like an ode to like those early 2000s Saddle Creek records.
Saddle Creek, what a label.
I know. And really, like, because we were making fun of like how, you know, I made like a, obviously my musical history is wildly pop punk. Like, there is no other way to put it. The influences are so clear. And I've been kind of transitioning more and more indie. And I feel like this one is so like, we were like, oh, it's a cool guy indie record. And then we just sort of realized the other day, like, this actually just sounds like the music we listened to in high school.
But that's not a bad thing. And, you know, and to go back to that kind of stuff, listening to certain things in high school, what happens is when you're writing music and writing songs, no matter what you think is happening when you're in that moment, you're always pulling from something that is kind of familiar and may not be perfectly on the top of your head, but it's always that music played an influence in your life at some part. So you are pulling from it regardless of if you think you are or not, because there's always some sort of influence when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like you have all the sounds that you've heard in your lifetime, especially the ones that you've heard over and over again, are just like stored in your head like kitchen ingredients. And so when you play a melody, you just hear what goes with it. And it comes from that.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things what music today is, and what and I don't know if it's because I'm an old fogey now. I'm up there in age, as I would say. I'm definitely halfway through my life, because I know what age I don't want to be here anymore. So I'm definitely halfway through my life. But to me, I was having a conversation with somebody, and I was like, it's really hard for me to look back on the past 20 years and find a band that's been different. And when I say different, it's, there was that, as soon as hair metal ended and grunge came along, then you had like bands like Rage Against the Machine, and then you had bands like Sunny Day Real Estate. And it always seemed like there was a different type of music to find every day. And
Yeah.
nowadays and I don't know if that's just me, and for you, someone younger, do you feel that there's been anything crazy that has popped up that's been really different than anything else that's out there, especially stuff that's got popular?
You know, I do feel like the artists who are the most successful are the ones who do something new. So like, for example, I would feel like, but no, that's still like older music. Like when I was in high school, right? Like the Arcade Fire was something to me that
Yeah.
sounded completely brand new. Death Cab for Cutie at the time was something that sounded completely brand new. And you can trace it back through like where it would have started from, like Seattle grunge, and then where grunge started from, I'm losing the words now, but you know what I mean? And I think right now, everything, it seems like, that is popular, in my opinion, is like regurgitated from the past. And I don't think that's necessarily bad. I know that like pop punk is having a huge moment again. And this time it's being run by women, but it's just a repeat of Riot Girl, and that sort of Alanis Morissette music, with a lot of those influences of like those kind of organic guitars and similar lyrics. And I love that that's coming back now, because that is like my vibe. But I do feel like I haven't heard something that feels completely new, except maybe Bleachers.
Okay, I'll give you that.
But then I was kind of also thinking, because I've thought about this a lot. When I first heard Bleachers, I thought, I've never heard anything that sounded like this. I love this so much. That's amazing. But then I started to think, actually, it's very similar to Bruce Springsteen. So who really knows where the line is?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too. When you can start, it's like having that crazy detective board with the strings going all over it. Like you can put things to certain things and be like, oh, well, this sounds like this, and this sounds like, and you can always do that. And my thing, I'm a music nerd. It's okay to be that. And just when I find something that makes me excited, it has been hard lately because I spend hours and hours on Bandcamp surfing through every genre to find the next great thing that I think people are going to love. And a lot of the times, like, I'll spend 5 hours and close my computer and be like, well, that was wasted.
You know, I think there are some like really good things that feel fresh, even if like they're not totally brand new. I feel like it's really hard to do something brand new now because before people didn't really have, like in the 90s, didn't have the giant resource of the internet to be a bank of knowledge. So something that felt fresh to you might not have actually been fresh because someone else heard something that you didn't hear. And now we just have so much information all the time that
That's a great point.
I think I have noticed a lyrical style that is becoming uh, popular, and that's really the thing that is feeling fresh to me. And I noticed that because it's something I picked up on when I first listened to the Weaker Thens, like a certain way of storytelling.
John Kay's he's a poet, so
I know he's my favorite, and I tried to adopt that in my own writing. Um, and everything I write, I'm like, would this at least hold up even just a tiny little fraction to a Weaker Than song? Like that's my bar. But I've noticed a lot of female singer songwriters adopting that style. Like Taylor Swift recently has, she started that way a little bit and she's completely evolved in that sort of diary like but poetic storytelling in a way that I believe she's so successful because that is actually something we haven't gotten before, particularly from a woman.
yeah, and the storytelling part of it, I mean, I think that's what makes a great song great is when when it has, a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's a lot of songs that I grew up on that if you read the lyrics, you're like, what? Like it nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
But it was a great song. And you're like, I can't believe I love this song. There's nothing in it to hold on to. And now there is that more storytelling. I'm 100% with you.
I know people always knock the Chainsmokers Closer song, particularly because it feels like Stockholm Syndrome to like it because it was just nonstop everywhere. But that was one of the first examples of like the massive mainstream that I saw that sort of like highly specific storytelling where I was like, that is really cool. And I'm glad this kind of thing is happening now and people are liking it. Even though, the Chainsmokers, you just have to read one of their interviews to know not to fuck with them.
So going from being a child and then how did you go about finding your own music growing up after being a small child and the Beach Boys and Monkees and Beatles playing a role in your life? How did it start to evolve from there? I know a lot of people would start with someone was forced to take piano lessons, so you learned about other types of music, but did you have a significant path to finding the music that you would end up attaching yourself to for a long time?
I actually wasn't forced to do anything like that. I remember being really young and I put in for like the lottery to play saxophone in like the school band and I wasn't one of the ones chosen. And I think it started with the radio, like I heard Britney Spears and I liked it. I got the album. I asked my parents to buy me the album. Someone bought it for me. And I listened to the song Lucky and I was like, wow, this is like the best song I've ever heard. That must be exactly what it feels like to be famous. And honestly, I think that still stands after having seen like, Z-list fame of myself. I would say totally accurate song. Love it. Still one of the classics. And from there, I grew up in the era of Napster. So I had a friend who got Napster and I was like, oh, I like these songs from the radio, whatever, like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Spice Girls, Blink-182 or whatever. And he put extra stuff on the CD that he made for me. And I'm like, oh, what's this? That's really good. And that started getting me into more like the pop punk side of things, like Green Day and that kind of stuff. And it was really, I would come home after school and listen to Z100, which is the top 40 radio station. Every day after school, they would do like the countdown, sort of like TRL. And I remember hearing like Newfound Glory on that countdown, and I didn't know what it was. And so I listened every single day trying to record like that song when it came on, which was My Friends Over You, on my cassette tape attached to my boombox because I'm so old. And I finally did that, found it out, was able to like Google the lyrics, whatever, to find out what it was. And I started doing internet searches for things like that, going on message boards. Then I found like like Taking Back Sunday and Brand New from like going to Borders and listening to like things that sound like Newfound Glory. And once I got online and started going on message boards, like the Saddle Creek message board, that opened up like a whole world of indie music. And that's where I got everything from.
Yeah, and so for me, like one of my favorite things was getting a CD sampler or something like Saddle Creek and opening it up and having the booklet of their entire roster to order from of what's there, and then just trying to find out a way to listen to that music. Napster and LimeWire and all that, and downloading a song for 7.5 hours to make a CD of it to listen in my car was awesome. But
you just unlocked a memory for me because I totally used to do that. I used to do volunteer work with an autistic child, and his parents always gave me a gift card to Borders. And I would go and I would buy a CD, and I would always buy like the most popular emo CD at the time or whatever, like, Dashboard Confessional or whatever. And then I would find the label and I would try to download a song from everyone on the label to find out which one I liked to buy like the next CD that I thought would be really good. And I found a lot of music that way.
I think that was the big thing. We started talking about labels earlier, and I think in that early aughts of the late 90s, early 2000s, when smaller labels were becoming more prevalent, and being able to find music that way, that's kind of sort of attached certain people to certain labels. For me, it was that Drive Through Records, it was Deep Elm, it was Saddle Creek, it was that whole thing that it was like, all right, well, I'm kind of finding my own sound of what I like, and there was many different things that were on there, which I loved too.
That's exactly what it was like. And it's just so funny for me to reflect back on that as an adult, because I had these experiences with like, those labels, those artists that meant so much to me. And then as an adult, I got to see so much of like what they were actually like. Like I remember finding in a Virgin Megastore, right? That was what it was called.
Yeah.
The All American Rejects album, When Swing Swing was the one on the radio. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. And I looked at Doghouse Records and I looked at all those things. And then I find myself in my 20s, going to the Doghouse Records Christmas party. Like, like what? And then they folded shortly after. But
Yeah, but and again, Doghouse at that time had some awesome bands too. Like, and it's, I think there is that resurgence right now with a lot of labels that are either coming back or popping up, and new labels, the Pure Noises of the world, the Wiretap. Like, it's awesome to start to see it again and like be like, okay, I can kind of attach myself to that label because I'm enjoying everything that they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that. Let's hope that the labels of this year are not as predatory as the ones in the early aughts, because I just keep thinking about all the stories I consistently hear about. Oh God, what was the one? Victory. And Drive Through. I mean, I don't know what was wrong with Drive Through, but I knew I got all of the pop punk bands I like from the Drive Through roster.
Yeah, well, and I mean, and Victory was very punk, very, very punk label.
Mm-hmm.
So let's not dwell on that. And I hope everything that is coming out moves forward. But the problem is, once things start to get a little too big, there always is a little bit of predatory after bands and making them sign their lives away and stuff. And
Yeah.
I recently had a guest on who put it perfectly, flies across the country, has already had a little bit of success in a major at a major label, and they say, listen, we need you to lose 30 pounds and change the name of your band. And he said, fuck you, walked out, put out an album on his own, did everything by himself, and was recently up for a nomination for a Grammy. So
that reminds me of a heartbreaking conversation that I had with a pop star who I will not name, but we shared a dressing room once. And she looked at me when, we were doing our hair together. and she said like, hey, what's your diet plan for this tour? Like, what kind of workout is your label making you do? Like, how are you staying thin? And I was like, what are you talking about? I eat McDonald's every day. Like, I have no money. All we do is eat at the drive-through, and I don't know when I would work out. I'm driving all day. And she's like, oh, your label's not making you do it. My label is like making me diet and have this extreme exercise regimen. And it was just so sad. And now she's wildly successful, but she still deals with that from her label.
And that's, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Like, what the fuck does it matter? Does that matter? Like,
She
it.
wasn't even, I mean, she's beautiful. Like it was so pointless. And I know she's been like, I saw her make the rounds in press recently about like someone, like people refusing to dress her because she was like not a size 2 for like some award show. And it just made me so sad when I thought about that conversation. And I was like, this is still happening to her. And now she's so successful where she's like undeniable, and she still can't get away from it.
Yeah, that's just some creepy bullshit that I mean, I don't know how even if when you get to a certain point of success, how can you distance yourself from it? Like, how do you get out of that? Is it like a trap? Are you trapped in a room that you can see the outside world, but you just can't get out of it? And I mean, I hope to never know that feeling. I hope you don't ever have to, but
I have felt that way. And I think the only way to get out of it is to just like fuck it. Like just don't do it. That's the only way. And it maybe isn't the best for your reputation all the time, but it is with the right people.
yeah, I mean, the people that actually give a shit will understand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the where a lot of people, especially in today's day and age where it's a lot of people searching for likes, is the only people that I actually care about caring about me are the ones that I care about. I know that was a lot of caring that I put in there, but I think it's the best way to describe it. I don't give a shit what some dude in California thinks about me and my show. Because as long as the people that care about me enjoy it and like it, and the artists that I have on here had a good time, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what anybody has to say. Because if I did, I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that was something I had to reckon with. And it took like horrible online cancellation for me to like finally just be free of it all. Um, like, especially when you're coming up in the pop punk scene and you're playing these shows opening for these bands who like all their lyrics are about hating women, and it's so clear that their audience kind of, that's their vibe, and they're too young to notice it yet, and they will turn around, I'm sure. But it's like a very masculine, aggressive vibe where your femininity is always preyed upon. And so I used to get horrible, horrible comments like constantly, especially the more popular Candy Hearts got, the more online abuse I would get. It was constant. And every day felt like another crisis because of it. And only when I was finally like, it can't get any worse, people can't be any meaner, just forget it all, that I was truly free from all of that stuff and able to just make my art the way that I want to make it for myself and just not care.
Yeah, and I mean that's a big part, and that's a huge hurdle for people is to get over that hump. And there is a statistic that recently came out with Netflix and the whole cancel culture of trying to pull things from somewhere, and they found out that it was out of everyone that's complaining and things needing to be canceled and someone needing to not be able to do something, it went back that it was 0.014%. 0.014% actually streamed or watched what they were complaining about. So if people are complaining about, your music or what you're saying, they're either never read it or they never listened to it. And I mean, that was a huge thing for me to see, to be like, okay, well,
the negative voices are always the loudest. So it seems like there are more of them than there actually are.
Yeah. I mean, when you can, if you're in an arena with four people screaming at the top of their lungs how much they hate you while you're playing a show, yes, you're going to hear them. But when you have 50 people around those four people cheering you on, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
So playing music growing up, when did you start to, after you got shunned for saxophone, you didn't win the lottery. What did you go to and how did you start to find your own way through music?
Well, I didn't play anything, and actually it took me a while to even like, I would listen to these pop punk bands singing about their relationships, and even if the songs were bad, I would always be like, "Oh man, I wish someone wrote a song like that about me." And it never occurred to me that like I could be the one writing the songs until I listened to Bright Eyes. And, I think Connor Oberst is a lyrical genius, but when it comes to being an actual musician, he's so average. He's fine, but like his guitar playing, his singing is nothing like remarkable that you would pick out of an American Idol lineup. And so I was like, you know what? If he can do that and he's just doing his thing and sharing his stories and that's enough, then like maybe I could do that. And so I started thinking about it a lot, and I was always a poet. Like I have a degree in poetry, actually, which you would think would be a waste of money, but it actually wasn't. And my sister was super into like Good Charlotte and Linkin Park, and she was like, "Oh, for Christmas, I want a bass. I want to learn how to play bass." And so, because we're twins, my dad bought a guitar for me and a bass for her, and I played it, and she didn't. And I was writing songs before I even knew what chords were. I was just trying to figure out with my hand like what sounded right and in the same key. And then I learned from there.
Do you remember the name of the first song you wrote?
I have no idea. I do remember I wrote this song about like this television I bought at like KB Toys. That was like a little black and white TV. And I don't know why I don't even know what the metaphor was that I was going for there. But I think at the time it was brilliant. I don't know if it would stand up now.
Listen, I don't think a lot of things that people write in their teenage years, unless you're, some sort of savant, really you think it'll hold up, but you'd be surprised. You know what I mean?
I was 15. I thought I was brilliant. I was like, this is undeniable. And in retrospect, it's probably definitely deniable.
I don't know. I'd have to hear it to give my opinion on it.
Well, I couldn't sing for one, so that really didn't help me. Learning how to sing was a long process.
So when did you first perform in front of strangers? If you were teaching yourself how to write and teaching yourself how to play guitar, when was that first initial performance in front of strangers?
Probably a few months later. I was president of the poetry club in school because I had tons of friends and it was really cool. And they had like a coffee house where you would read poetry, or you could like an open mic or whatever. And so I performed there, and I remember a Bright Eyes song, which taught me how to finger pick. And to this day, that is the only finger picking I can do. And people find it so impressive. And I actually don't really know how to finger pick the right way. Only that pattern for that song. And it was like some B-side. I don't even really remember what it was called. Oh, Soon You Will Be Leaving Your Man. That was the song. I don't even know what album that's on. And then I played a song that I wrote. God only knows what song that was, because I definitely don't remember.
I thought you were going to say it was God Only Knows by the Beach Boys. Whoa.
No, but I loved that song at the time and now. Always. I've always loved that song.
Always loved that song. That's the song that they played the Beatles while they were over in the UK, and Lennon and McCartney said, "This is the best song in the history ever written, and we stand by it."
I think it's definitely up there.
And people won't understand it if you're not a true music fan. Like, you don't understand how special that song is and exactly how good it is. And there's so many stories behind that go about the writing of it and how the lyrics changed. But
oh yeah, I mean, I could nerd out about like them adding French horn too, because I didn't, when I first heard it, obviously I was a child, but then I started playing French horn in the marching band because I
You
just,
were popular.
I had a lot of friends. I didn't know how to play anything except guitar. And I
I'm
signed,
only busting you. My wife was in the marching band too, so don't worry about it.
well, I joined the marching band in hopes to make more friends, so I signed up and they're like, well, what do you play? And I'm like, I kind of know the notes on a keyboard. And they're like, okay, well, we don't have anyone playing French horn. We have like 2 people, so you'll play that. Meanwhile, it's like the hardest brass instrument to play. So I was like, oh, cool. I'm really not good at it. I never got good at it either.
Well, there you go. You can always look back and tell people, listen, you don't have to be good at everything to be successful.
No, you don't. I would still be able to play it and put something basic in a song and then, pitch correct it so it sounds right. You don't actually have to be that good now. You just have to be a good writer. You don't have to be a good musician.
That's definitely true. That I try to look at things like if you look at a famous musician, some of them are really good songwriters, some of them are great talented musicians, and you probably know more of the good songwriters than you do the talented musicians. But you need them both to make a great band.
Yeah, you got to have, that star power kind of thing. And usually it meets in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, that's why Foo Fighters have 3 guitars in it, because everybody has to cover for somebody else. That's what I've tried to explain to people. There's a reason why there's 3 of them and why they're such a good band.
Yeah, I like that strategy, actually. That was definitely my strategy, to have like a lead guitar player and a rhythm guitar player, and then have me not playing so accurately. But when you don't have any money to pay people, you really can't afford the whole choir of guitars.
Well, it's also, if you're starting out and trying to start a band, if anybody has any money, probably shouldn't be in a band anyway. I don't you have to be completely broke to want to start a band?
I don't know. I know. It's just something that happened to me when I was too young to be making my own money, I guess. Yeah, I had part-time jobs like for minimum wage or whatever, like in college. But yeah, no, it's something that happened to me. So I never thought about that. I will say you have to have family money to want to start a band. And it's difficult for those of us like myself who do not, and a lot easier for people who do.
So when was the first time you started playing with other people?
I think in high school I tried to get my sister to sing with me. And it was really just like an oasis, like a really poor man's oasis situation where we just screamed at each other constantly trying to practice. So it didn't work out.
Liam heckling Noel at the Unplugged.
Yeah, it would have devolved into that. Not on her part, probably on mine, because I am very aggressive with like my vision of what I want things to sound like. And if you're making basic mistakes, I'm like, why are you doing this? I'm the only one allowed to make mistakes. You need to be competent. But after that, I think it was really college where, I was always trying to find people to play music with. It was kind of a boys' club where boys just wanted to play with each other. Like in high school, I joined my friend's cover band and we were trying to play like Taking Back Sunday covers and like Brand New and stuff. And they were like, oh, you can't really be in this. A girl is kind of bad for our image. And I was like, cool, well, you're a cover band, so have fun with that.
Yeah. Well, I always looked at it, if there was a girl in the band, there's got to be something wicked awesome about it. Like, you look back at some, Smashing Pumpkins, Darcy, and when I saw that, I was like, whoa, there's a chick in this band.
Yeah, like when
this is awesome.
Fields was playing with the Lemonheads.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sick. But I don't know. And then, in college, like the bros become closer with each other because they're bros and you're like the other one. But I started dating someone who was like a guitar player and really good, and he really believed in me. So we formed a band together. And because he really pushed his friends to do. Like, he legitimized me, essentially. He was quite popular in college, like, actually, not the way I was popular in high school. So people played with me, and that band became Candy Hearts. And yeah, then it all spiraled from there.
Wow. Yeah, I'll talk spiral. Yeah, I mean, you went on to do some amazing things with that. And I mean, when you start playing in something and something kind of starts to snowball, and then you start doing this whole touring thing when it comes to being in a band. I mean, do you remember like what your first tour was like, and how things started to snowball?
Yes, I do, because I felt like I was just like, I mean, even now I'm just speechless because I don't know what happened. Like, not to discredit myself, because obviously I worked very hard, but I just felt like, why me versus someone else working equally as hard with, more proficient skills, or whatever. Like, I don't know. It just seems you have to be in the right place, the right moment, doing the right thing. And I remember I worked quite hard on our PR, like reaching out to like local blogs and trying to get my music posted places for free in the era where blogs, like, people found stuff on blogs. And our guitar player knew how to book shows because he like grew up in like Vermont DIY punk, and they always threw VFW hall shows. So he like booked us a thing. I think I was like 19 years old or something, during our winter break. And I'd never been on tour before or whatever. I was so super hyped. I hadn't really played that many shows, but we recorded an album because we went to school for, not only did I study poetry, I also studied songwriting. So we had a recording studio at school. I'd recorded a bunch of demos. And when we played these shows, there were kids at the shows singing all the words to my songs. And like, we had just put them on MySpace or something. And I was like, oh my God, like, these people actually like know my band, like actually like it and actually listen to it. And so we kept doing it because I was like, that's so sick. If these kids do, and we haven't even done anything yet, imagine if we really tried.
I mean, if you could bottle that feeling up, I mean, that's what I mean, to have someone singing your song back to you. I mean, isn't that every artist's dream, really?
It must be. I mean, it's very self-indulgent, but yes.
So when you start doing that and you start touring, is there a tour or a concert that stands out to you that you were either, headlining or opening for someone on the bill? Is there like one specific show that will always stand out in your memory?
Yeah, I think there was a tour where I realized that maybe my band hadn't made it yet. And there were definitely tours where I've realized, you know what, we did make it. Like, we got everything we wanted. And I can't believe my childhood dreams have all come true. But I would say the most memorable was like the tour before that started happening, because I had found someone in Brooklyn to put out an album that I had recorded in my mom's basement. And we like scrounged together our pennies to like rent a studio for one day to track all the drums, because it was before drum samples were super awesome. And she helped us get on a tour. She was an amazing PR person, and she knew so many people. It was with Man Overboard and Sea Haven and Handguns, and we were the opening band of that. And every day I was at the merch table, selling our merch, doing our thing. I always hung out with merch people on tour. They were like the people, my best friends, the people I always hung out with. And we would all kind of ask each other questions to kind of suss out how the show did. And I started to realize that like the distance between me being there and the headliner was really not that far. Like, I saw a path of like how I would be able to get there. And that tour made everything feel possible and like remain my motivation, because when you have the idea of, oh, I want to become like a rock star when you're a child, you're like, cool, that's great. Like, but how that, like, that's an impossible dream. How does that actually happen? Like, do I try out for American Idol? Do I just put stuff
No,
on the internet
no.
and no, definitely not. And hope, like, put stuff on the internet and hope that it pops off. Do I try to get like a viral moment on YouTube, like, or become MySpace famous? Like, what's the pathway? Do I just throw my album into the ether of demo submissions at labels? But that was the first time where I was like, wait, I see the pathway and I have access to all of it.
Yeah,
So that was cool.
that is awesome, and I mean it's a great story for people who may be listening to this and want to be a rock star, and come to find out you got, no matter what it is, and you want to be good at it, you got to work at it. There's very few people. It's just like winning the lottery. Sometimes you don't get that saxophone, you get the French horn.
Yeah.
But if you want to do something, you got to work at it. It doesn't happen overnight. You don't, and again, you just don't send your demo out and all of a sudden you're a rock star. It doesn't work that way. You got to put in the work. And if you do, and you do it the right way, it will pay off. Maybe not in, being the Beatles, but it will pay off in other aspects.
Yeah, that's the thing. The most successful people I know are the people who didn't necessarily see the end game. And they set their goals kind of small, where they're like, these are my friends who just want to hit the road and go on tour. And they just capitalized on the small things that they were doing until it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think, I operate that way. And pretty much everyone I know who is successful has operated that way.
It's a good story for the youth of today to hear.
Yeah, but nowadays, I mean, you can get a viral hit and Atlantic will sign you $1 million. So I don't know which way is the best way. I will say that I think the grinding at it actually prepares you more for success when you're ready for it. Like, I do think that things happened too fast with my band. And if I had the opportunity now to start versus then, I think I would be a lot more successful because I think I'm better. And I don't think I was necessarily up to snuff back then. I think I was lucky and someone saw like a spark in me, that they could help become what I am now. I just wish I had become it a little bit faster.
Yeah, but I mean, this is where I look at things with, no regrets in my life, because if you changed anything, you wouldn't be where you are today. And, I'm a firm believer in that with the good and the bad, as long as you're happy about where you are today in life, then everything prior to that played a role into where you are. I guess it's almost like the Back to the Future. You go back, you change one thing, everything changes. So
Yeah, that's totally true.
just me throwing my own poetry out there at you. What was the first concert you ever attended in your life?
Well, my mother took me to see the Elephant Show live when I had like hand, foot, and mouth disease or something as like a 3-year-old child. And I apparently went absolutely, even though I had like a fever, I was like out of my mind excited. I have no memory of that whatsoever, obviously. But the first concert that I properly remember was Nelly and Eve, and I think that band called Dream, or it might have been like 3LW, the like Cheetah Girls band. I can't remember which one.
And you picked that?
Destiny's Child. Destiny's Child. Also, they had.
Wow.
I forget that.
So you got to see Beyonce in the early days.
I did, yes. I think it was good. I don't really remember that much.
Do you have a concert that stands out to you that's your favorite so far to date? Now, I know it's hard, so like if you have a top 3, you can give a top 3, but because I have, there's certain bands that I've seen a plethora of times and I can't pick my favorite one of them, but.
Oh, okay. I'll do a top 3. I think I can narrow it down to 3. The third one feels tied, but the first 2 are tied also. Definitely seeing the Lemonheads on the night that they played It's a Shame About Ray front to back. made my life.
When was that?
That's a good question. I have the t-shirt in my closet and I wear it constantly, but I don't, it was like 2012 maybe?
Okay. Because
Like,
I was going to say, I hope it wasn't the recent portion.
no, it wasn't. I read all about that and I was like, wow, I wonder what happened. And I saw like reporting from nights on the tour that I went to, that were not the nights I went to, and people saying that it was really bad and he was really messed up or it wasn't good. And I just don't know what people are expecting when they see the Lemonheads.
Listen, I've seen Dando by himself where he's been phenomenal, and I've seen him with an iteration of Lemonheads where it's been abysmal. So it's a hit or miss.
Yeah, I mean, like when I saw Bright Eyes as a kid, the dude was so drunk he couldn't do anything. Like he actually couldn't do anything. That was disappointing, but also it was his album release and he was like 22. So I totally understand.
Where was that?
That was in New York City somewhere.
Oh,
And I was so young. I truly I have no recollection of where it was. I don't think it's a place that even exists. All I know is it was seated, which I thought was weird. It was like a seated theater.
Because I was going to say I saw him very drunk at Maxwell's.
Oh no, it was definitely not Maxwell's. I would have died to see. I used to live in Hoboken, so I would have died to see that. Are you kidding me? Like that would have been awesome in such a small place. But okay, so the other concert was the Weaker Thans did all their 4 albums in 4 nights at, I think it was Bowery Ballroom.
It was Bowery Ballroom. I was there.
Yeah. And
I still have my poster.
I was just a college kid and I couldn't afford all 3 nights, so I had to pick. And I chose Left and Leaving and Reunion Tour. And honestly, I think I cried because there is no artist that I love more than the Weaker Thans. And like, I remember seeing him like at the bar and I never get starstruck. I mean, it would be impossible for me to do my job and be starstruck. And I was like, I need to leave the room. I can't even be in the presence of him. Like, because it's just, they're so good. And they're not even like, he messed up a ton and like whatever. Like, I like that. I like when, like, he's a real person performing. And that is so good to me. And his songs are so beautiful.
Yeah, and I mean, a real person performing, that was like when, during the Grammys, Adele messed up and she started over. And everybody's like, oh my God, can you be like, good for her. She's a fucking person. She's not a robot. She's not a fucking robot.
Yeah, that's the stuff I like. And so third, I saw the Promise Ring on their reunion thing.
In Brooklyn?
In Brooklyn.
I think I was there too.
Music House of Williamsburg? Where was it?
No, it was, I got to find my ticket stub. But yeah, on their reunion, like 9 years ago.
So that band was like a big thing for me growing up. Because they have this song called Jersey Shore. It was the first guitar solo I ever taught myself. And to be quite honest, I have not learned that many since. And there's a lyric in that song where he was like, oh, when July is gone, I'll be 24. And I was like, always thought that. I'm like, okay, well, if I can make an album that sounds like this kind of vibe by the time I turn 24, then I've made it. Then that's my standard. That's all I want to do. And, when that happened for me, I was ecstatic. And so at the time, my old manager didn't even, like, she knew that whole story and everything. And we were celebrating like all this success that I had. And it was my birthday and she's like, we're doing something on your birthday. And I don't want to tell you what it is. And she took me to see that concert. And I also think I cried.
Wow. I mean, I guess we do live close to each other, but we've been at the same shows, which is awesome. And for people out there, we don't know each other. We're meeting today for the first time. So
through my mother?
Yeah, and my mother-in-law, whatever. We can keep them out of this.
I mean, the world is small. Like, that's crazy that we've been
is small.
That our parents, or mother-in-law counts as a parent, like know each other. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, and there's little things that all of a sudden, when showing how small the world is, like I read Cornell's biography, and all of a sudden they were talking about a show that was like so hot and so horrible, and people were passing out, and then it was the New York Armory, and I was like, I was at that show, and I was like, it's in a book, and I started sending it to people. I'm like, do you remember being at this show? And like my friend who is in Spain, I'm like, hey, remember we were at this show? He's like, oh my God, we were at the show. I'm like, it's crazy, it's in a book. And then I was like, all right, but we're not famous or anything.
I had this moment with my fiance where years ago, he's British, but he lives here and he's been here for many years. So many years ago, I was touring in the UK, my first time over there, and I was playing at the Kentish Town Forum, like 2 nights, sold out, and he had bought tickets just as something to do, even though he doesn't really listen to that genre of music, and he didn't go because he had work. And like, that is crazy to me.
That is crazy.
Because we could have been in the same room, but we weren't. It was like...
And then he could have started stalking you sooner. You don't know.
He definitely didn't. He's one of those people. I was like, please don't Google me before we meet. Because like, someone told me that the first thing I would do is go to Google. And I got to be honest, I really don't think he did. But to be fair, if a man tells you that, I assume he's a serial killer or
yes.
like horrible. So I got to Google it. A woman, I would be like, okay, maybe someone was nasty to you online. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. If anyone told me not to Google them before I met them, the first thing I would do is Google them. I mean, that's human nature, right?
Yeah, you know, when I was online dating, there were a lot of guys who like, actually, I really don't think Googled me because they wanted to meet me the first time and not, because I felt it was so unfair that I would go into this date not knowing this person, but they could know everything about me and everything about who I am and all of these things that have happened to me just by like Googling my name. And that sucks. So I couldn't date anyone who did that. I actually really think people didn't.
Well, I'm very surprised. Good on them.
I know. Don't worry. There were others. They were shitty in other ways.
Well, at least you found a good one. So yeah. That's all that matters. You gotta dig through the shit to find the diamond, right? I mean, that's how it works.
Yeah, it does.
So when it comes to your music, if no one ever heard anything from you before, what song would you play from them of your own music you've created that would best describe who you are?
As a person or as like
as an artist, as a band, or as an artist yourself? How about just the Best X stuff? Okay. What song would you play for them? They never heard you. It
before. Makes it a little bit easier that you narrowed down my catalog.
Yeah.
I think Good at Feeling Bad, the title track. And it sucks because that was never a single or anything, and I like never promoted it, but like I think Good at Feeling Bad is a song that perfectly captures not only my vibe as like an artist and like the different elements that I use, but also my vibe as a human. Though there is not a lot of guitar in that one, which is not typical, I think, especially not with my new album. But I think that one is a good tell of like what I'm about.
Okay. Do you have a favorite song you've ever written?
Ooh, okay. Ever written? I'm literally Googling my catalog. I have some songs that are really close, that like I feel really close to, and they're not the ones that people have clung on to, and I don't know why. But I
think that's what a lot of people, and I'll give you this because it is a little eerie, because most of the time when I tell people the song of theirs that I love the most, they're like, out of all the songs, why that? I'm like, because that's the one that I felt your soul in. And
Really?
yeah, and it really has been like a crazy thing. And then I'll look it up afterwards and I'll be like, that is the least streamed song they've ever had. Wow.
So for me, I wrote this song in Candy Hearts called Replacement Parts. And I think that song really does capture my soul in sort of just the way I am, the things I worry about. And it has that sort of 90s vibe that I love, of like it was like massively influenced by like the Lemonheads and the Gin Blossoms, and I think you can really hear it on there. And I just love that song.
Nice. I love how you said the Gin Blossoms too. For me, they're my early in the show's era. I had a category of overrated, underrated, like a band that is extremely overrated, but at the same time is extremely underrated. And the Gin Blossoms are one of those for me. I just think yeah, I know they had 2 albums and the third one didn't come out till 20 years later, but I just thought they were fucking amazing.
As like a massive fan of that band, I think you're right that they're somehow both overrated and underrated.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of bands that are like that. Then when I start to explain it to people, and I say the bands, I'm like, one for me is Third Eye Blind. They're extremely overrated, but their stuff that wasn't hugely popular is 100% underrated, and it's better than the stuff that was popular.
I agree with you too on that one. Yeah, they're really okay. But Third Eye Blind's, ooh, what's that one? Like
Not the like Uranus one. I don't count the whatever
the massive single, not Semi Charmed Life or whatever. The other one.
Jumper?
No, not Jumper. The other one. The third one. The third single. Amazing. And I was listening to it in the car the other day. I listened to it like 7 times in a row, and now I'm blanking on the name.
No, but do you understand what I'm talking about? Like with the overrated, underrated bands, like how it's so easy to be so big, but at the same time not be really given your due for what you're doing. Like, and I just think those are bands like that are 100% like that.
It's like the popular boy in high school who's misunderstood. People are just like, oh, he's the jock, the sports star, but there's something there.
Yeah, and listen, I had one of those guys on the show. He's star quarterback, got a scholarship to college to be a star quarterback, and he writes the most beautiful songs and sings amazingly. And he's like, yeah, that's who I really was. It was just I just happened to be good at football. Like that wasn't who I was. That just happened to be something I was good at.
So he was overrated and underrated at the same time.
Exactly. Look at this. Look at the boundaries we're pulling, and this is amazing. What's the last song you cried to?
Oh, it doesn't take much. Songs are the one thing that like get me. I think it was a Taylor Swift song. I think it was one of the ones on Folklore. It was the one about her grandmother. And I always skip it because I lost my grandmother 2 years ago and it still feels like yesterday. But I was driving in the car and like I didn't realize, and like my fiance was controlling the thing and I didn't have his phone, and we were like lost on like a country road in the middle of nowhere. And actually it was like about 10 minutes before he proposed. So 10 minutes before he proposed, I was like crying in the car to this Taylor Swift song that if anyone saw from the outside would be like, why are you crying?
Yeah.
This song.
Or if you're driving by them, like, what did he say to her?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's what it comes down to. Really, is what did he say to her in that car?
But a lot of Taylor Swift songs get me. I have to like skip a bunch of them. I don't know. There aren't that many singers that I feel speak to women of my generation so accurately.
Now, is there an artist or a band that people would be extremely surprised that you get a lot of enjoyment out of?
Oh gosh, there's gotta be. There has gotta be, because my music taste is like all over the place. Like I'll listen to like Bob Dylan, or like I went through like a Hank Williams phase for some reason, and like a Chris Christopherson phase, which is so weird. I mean, not weird. He's awesome. I think people probably wouldn't have expected me to go see Slipknot live and enjoy it. Granted, I wouldn't consider myself a Slipknot fan, but the opportunity arose and I was like, hell yeah, I'll see Slipknot. And then I was like, this is the most amazing performance I've ever seen. I don't even understand what's happening.
Isn't it awesome when you're just so surprised at something that you're like, yeah, I'll go. I'm not gonna not go, and then you're there. That happened for me. That was Andrew WK.
Oh man, I have a photo of me front row at an Andrew WK thing holding up his keyboard while it fell down in like the most epic party. He's so good.
Listen, I was never a huge fan of his music ever. I was just like, I mean, I get what he's trying to do. I'm like, but it's just not something that I'm 100% on board with. Like, I don't find myself that I'm ever going to put on his album and just get lots of enjoyment out of it. And my buddy's like, dude, I saw him in Colorado once. He goes, it's the greatest concert I've ever been to in my entire life. And this is a guy who you would never picture him say Andrew WK concert was the best concert I ever went to.
Mm-hmm.
So when he came to Irving Plaza in, I don't know, let's see, in my studio, I have his autographed poster here. What year was it? Definitely pre-pandemic, 2018. So he's like, you got to go. So I was like, all right, whatever. So I go, lucky enough to get VIP. And then I watched the mayhem that ensued. And I literally stood there and I looked at him like, you're right, dude. It's the best show ever.
Yeah.
Like, this is the greatest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
It really is.
I was into the music, still couldn't listen to it when I got home. But at that moment, I was in the moment and the music was amazing and everyone having fun. I was just like, this is the greatest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, there are some bands for me that I just think are bands you see live and other bands that I think are bands you listen to, you know?
Yeah.
But
and then Andrew WK pulled out at Furnace Fest like 4 hours before because I was like telling my wife, I'm like, you got to see this guy perform. Like, it's going to be insane. And then, but listen, we got a very nice replacement in Turnstile. So that was good.
I will say with your question before I thought about it, and actually probably it would be, this is really, I don't even want to admit this because the idea of their early catalog makes my skin crawl and I hate that I hate it. Like, I hate that I like it, but Maroon 5's most recent album, which has an atrocious name that reminds me of men's rights activists online and incels, like it's like Red Pill Blues or something. I don't know what it's called, but something like that. I love it. It's horrible. It feels misogynistic for a reason. I have no idea why, because I don't think anything about it particularly is. But I just like it so much.
You're allowed to. Listen, I liked Maroon 5 before the Maroon 5, and I remember hearing Maroon 5 and being like, I know this dude's voice. Like, I fucking know this voice. I'm like, where did I hear this? I'm like, it sounds so whiny. I'm like, but I remember liking a voice like this. And then I'm like looking through all my CDs and I'm like, found it. Kara's Flowers.
I was so upset and bewildered by the fact I like this. I had to like look into it and like figure out why. And I did figure out it was like one of the first albums where they worked with a lot of different co-writers that weren't just Adam Levine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's really good. I mean, the songs there are even some songs where I'm like, dang, that's like a pretty good lyric. And I just never thought I would say that about Maroon 5.
Hey, you're allowed to have that thought.
I also don't like trashing people either. And now I've just trashed this man and I know nothing about him or his experience or whatever.
That's all right. We can talk after. All right. World's going to end in 5 minutes. A meteor is coming down to crash into the earth and you have 5 minutes left to live. And you have to listen to one song. What song are you listening to?
Oh, shit. That's a really good question.
I know it is. That's why I asked it.
I know. That's like hard. I think maybe Not Only Numb by the Gin Blossoms. Maybe. That song is a big comfort to me.
I love that answer. I truly do. I love that answer. There's some answers I've gotten that haven't. I being a Gin Blossoms fan, I love that answer.
What would you pick?
Mine is "Over the Rainbow," sung by Ray Charles, because that's my wedding song,
Oh,
and it
that's
has
so cute.
a lot of importance. Besides being my wedding song, my sister who passed away, it was her and I were madly in love with the Wizard of Oz. It's the only thing we really got along with besides music. So, and then having my wife be like, "No, I want this as their wedding song." I was like, "All right." So
Wait,
that's it.
really
No other song. That's it.
Mine's not that thoughtful. It just reminds me of like that was one of the first songs where I was like, I don't even know what about it, but it just feels like touring in the fall. Like that song just feels like what it feels like to do that.
Nice.
And so it's comforting to me.
Yeah, the Over the Rainbow for me is it's laying in the poppy fields in the Wizard of Oz without the asbestos coming down as snow, but just laying there on a bright sunny day, being calm, and then just being gone.
That's so sweet. But let's not think about that. I have an anxiety disorder, and I'm constantly thinking of if I put this song on, is it going to give me like vibes of when I'm in a scary, I say scary situation. I really mostly just mean an airplane. I will not listen to a song in an airplane if I can picture myself listening to it as the world is ending for me.
Okay. Sorry I brought that up then.
That's okay. I'm just in my apartment. I'm not in the air.
Well, we are over an hour in. Wow, that went quick. This has been fun. I don't want to take up a lot more of your time. So before we move into our last segment of our show, I'd love to right now give you the opportunity how to tell everybody what it is you're doing, how to find all the stuff, how to actually support an artist and buy stuff from you. So I'd love to give you that opportunity to do it right now.
Okay, so on Spotify, you can follow Best X and Candy Hearts, but Best X is where I'm releasing new music. On Instagram, I'm BestXNJ for New Jersey. And then on TikTok, I'm Mariel.mp3. And my TikTok is hella girly. I talk a lot about pop songs that I like, and I complain a bunch. And that's been my vibe lately.
You're allowed to do it.
Yeah.
So our last segment of the show is our weekly threes. It is 3 things that you are listening to right now that you would like people to check out. It can be new, it can be old, but it's 3 things you're listening to that you would like to share with people.
Okay. 1, Maisie Peters' new song, Blonde, about the empowering feeling of being a blonde, of which I am. Of course, only, for girls who dye their hair when they're going through an emotional crisis. It's the vibe. No one else I know has written a song about that. And that is a unique experience that is also universal. My friend's Young Rising Sons just put out an album, so go listen to their Spotify. It's called Still Point in a Turning World. It's one of my favorite albums, and I feel like such a cheeseball, like putting my friends' songs on when I'm on a road trip. But I genuinely like that. And also the singer is producing my album. And then a third one. Geez, I listen to the same albums from like 30 years ago, but I would say that Bright Eyes is reissuing. Oh, you know what? I know. Cursive's Domestica is being reissued in 2022 for like the 22nd anniversary. I have no idea. They're doing a vinyl reissue. That album is wildly underrated. I have no idea why Cursive never blew up as much.
It's my favorite album by them.
Yeah. I was an Ugly Organ Girl because I'm like more of a pop girl, but like that album has such a special place in my heart too. And listening to it as an adult who has way more experience with relationships, I definitely relate to it a lot more. And it's just so I never hear anyone talking about it. And I heard it in a cafe the other day and I was like, I haven't heard this in 20 years.
I just bought it on CD again a couple weeks ago because I couldn't find mine in my Cursive section.
It's literally so good. So I think people need to revisit that now.
And it's another band that I try to tell people, even if you aren't the hugest Cursive fan when it comes to listening to their music, if they're playing live and you have an opportunity to see them, you have to see them.
I'm hoping to see them at Fest, right?
Yeah, they're playing Sunday. And I think they're playing early. I think I just got the listing for.
I was going to leave Sunday, but maybe I'm not anymore because they're.
Yeah, I think they're.
I was like, the only thing we have to see is Cursive.
Yeah, I think they're playing Sunday the same day as Hot Water Music. Piebold's playing that day. Because Piebold's playing that day too. So,
Tim Kasher is just so underrated as a lyricist. And I just don't. He's like not even overrated, underrated. Like he's just straight underrated. And
straight underrated. People. Well, that's the thing. You can say the name Tim Kasher. A lot of people aren't going to know what you mean. So
yeah, but like even The Good Life, I feel like is where it like his lyricism, like it really shined. And I think people need to listen to The Good Life too. So I'll add that to the fourth. People need to listen to The Good Life. They need to listen to Album of the Year, which should have been someone's Album of the Year. It has the best opening of any album, I think, ever.
Awesome. Great 3. Now's my turn. My 3 this week. The first band is called Ripe and Ruin. They are a German rock band. The name of the album is The Eye of the World. You like rock bandish stuff? That's for you. Number 2 is Fights and Fires from the UK. There's an album called Future Plans and the Things That Ruin Them. Great British band. And last but not least, an Iodine release recently, which is funny that we started off with Iodine and I'm ending with it. Orange Island. It's from 2001. But they just re-released their Massachusetts emo punk band. The name of the album is The Shape of Calling. So if you haven't heard of any of them, please check them out.
Very cool. I haven't heard of those first 2 ones, but I'm definitely going to check them out.
We tell people if you're going to follow us for anything, just follow us for our weekly 3 segment on Instagram, because we do put out really good bands and really good music that we feel needs to be heard if you're not going to listen to the entire episode of 2 people talking about their love for music. So, but
yeah, it could be a lot for an hour.
I got stories to tell. But Mariel, thank you so much for being here this week. We appreciate what it is you do as an artist and what you put out in the world, because it's soul bearing and you put your heart on the line and you let people pick it apart. And I'm glad to have you here and tell you how good it is. So
I'm so glad to be speaking to you. Like, thank you so much. I know that I'm hectic.
It's totally fine. It took us a little while to get here, but we're here.
I know,
and we're almost done. So
yeah.
But everybody out there in the listening world, you know what time it is. It's time to go out, listen to Best X, and have a great fucking time.
Oh God, it's New Year's, and I'm counting on my fingers, trying to figure out what time it is where you are. I'm overthinking every distant conversation. How could I become someone you hated? Fell in love with all your flaws. Well, fault lines always move, and I built my life around you. You could earthquake my heart in two. I'll always keep on coming back to you. Maybe I'll go out and kiss a couple guys. Maybe I'll try on somebody else's life. Maybe you're the one who's always on my mind, and I'm terrified, oh I'm terrified. I'm terrified, oh I'm terrified. Your mind is a beautiful prison. You're trapped in your existence, and I don't think you're ever leaving. I tried real hard to sneak you past the guards. Got stuck in the barbed wire around your heart, and fault lines always move. But I built my life
Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.